Hello and welcome. I'm Helen Atkinson, Managing Editor at Supply Chain Brain, and I'm excited to be moderating this webinar today, sponsored by OneRail, the topic for which is Post-Pandemic Tech Bloat Reckoning. 5 years after the peak of supply chain disruption, retailers and wholesalers are facing a new challenge, tech bloat. In the rush to adapt, companies adopted a patchwork of point solutions, many of which now sit idle, redundant, or worse, draining resources and slowing operations. In this webinar, we're going to get candid and specific about how to break free from tech overload and how to reclaim control. We'll explore the hidden costs of fragmented tech stacks and the unintended consequences of overdependence on siloed tools. We'll also learn how leading brands are moving away from unnecessary platforms and embracing unified strategies that benefit supply chain operations overall. Our speakers today are Bill Catania, founder and CEO of OneRail. Bill founded and is the CEO of OneRail, a final mile logistics orchestration solution, as well as MDOT, a cloud-based digital coupon platform that was acquired by Inmar Inc. in 2011. We also have Jeff Towi, who is Chief Product Officer at OneRail. Jeff has a diverse background in technology, healthcare, and venture investments. Prior to joining OneRail, Jeff was the founder and CEO of MedZoom, a healthcare fintech startup focused on transforming member engagement and payments. We'll also hear from David Rye, an independent board member and advisor focused on helping software executives at public and private equity-backed companies drive value creation initiatives. So I'm going to hand off to Bill for a presentation, and then we'll go into a panel discussion after that.
So jumping right in, supply chain disruptions that emerged because of the COVID pandemic had a tremendous impact on customer behaviors. There's really four key impacts. First was the surge in demand. And it wasn't just a surge in demand, it was a surge in the requirement that items be delivered or picked up. I think there were certainly key product categories that saw more demand. And what we saw was less brand loyalty, more focus on availability. I can remember a CNBC earnings call where Tractor Supply picked up nearly 1 million customers during the early stages of the pandemic because of how they positioned themselves prior to and immediately after the pandemic. Store closures and inventory shortages. There was a tremendous acceleration of e-com experiences, and what you saw was the need to depend on e-commerce. The lack of visibility from retailers. This was a lack of investment in visibility, not only in transportation, but also in inventory. Labor shortages and delivery delays. We saw that in a big way. And what we ended up seeing was a higher expectation on the consumer side, not only for how products move forward to them, but also the ability to return. So what did retailers do about it? Roadmaps accelerated tremendously. And what they did is they started to adopt strategies at lightning speed. We also saw e-com, contactless payments, AI, and omnichannel becoming essential. And then companies rapidly adopted multiple point solutions. So retailers did what they had to do to not only survive, but to continue to try to position themselves within their category, right? They just kept giving money away at lightning pace to anybody that had an idea for how to solve a problem in the supply chain. But then you had this macro tech bloat happening in the digital supply chain and logistics ecosystem. So when you look at the hidden costs to shippers, the hidden costs, kind of four key points here. One is operational inefficiency. Customer experience gaps, and this is a big one. Inconsistent customer journeys is a really big outcome. Slow, risky decisions. That exposes itself through scattered data, mismatched reports, having to leverage Google Sheets for your reporting instead of an actual reporting solution like Power BI. All of that results in a very high cost of ownership because now you're doing what's called stacking SaaS fees. And then finally, reduced agility. It's really hard to scale. It's just a mess. So that's really what we saw in terms of the hidden costs to shippers from the tech bloat. So now what's happening is we're moving from this era of kind of fragmentation to unification. And companies are focused on how to build a unified stack that can solve the problem efficiently at the right cost and even more dependably. And then finally, really you need to take a step back and forget silos for a second. You need one seamless omnichannel transaction, one seamless commerce transaction that starts with inventory and ends with a smile.
So thank you for that. Now we're going to move into the panel discussion part of our webinar, joined by Jeff and David, so we can dig into all of this a little deeper. So let's get going. How big of a problem actually is tech bloat right now compared to, say, 3 to 5 years ago? And what's driving the urgency right now to simplify?
Oh, it's bad. And what's driving the urgency, most importantly, is, again, back to what I said about, hey, I can do X, Y, and Z, but I can't do X, Y, and Z at the right cost.
So let's go back to the sort of general issue of tech bloat. Are there some common signs that if you're a company that you're suffering from tech bloat?
Yeah, and some of it Bill highlighted in his presentation, but first is just a proliferation in a short period of time of systems, huge increase in the number of systems. The second would be systems that you get multiple duplicative systems that's kind of solve the same problems. I think second thing then is to throw resources at it, usually IT resources to try to do manual workarounds, fill in some of the gaps. And then oftentimes you'll see yet another tool deployed to fill the gap, which then of course worsens the whole cycle.
But I'm interested, and I'd be interested, Bill and Jeff, to chime in here. Obviously that makes sense. You've got a proliferation of apps and software programs that you're using, but who actually sees that?
Part of it is no one has a complete, comprehensive, unified view. Certainly every department does. But that's, I think, one of the things building toward a best practice is being able to do an audit and have a comprehensive view.
When there's departmental decision-making, i.e. the marketing department chooses their own, let's just say digital advertising solution, and it's done in a vacuum through their own budget, yes, they can move more quickly, but they're not making informed decisions related to interconnectivity or whether or not that license is redundant to something that the enterprise already has.
So somebody should be responsible. There should be a person or a department in every company that's responsible for monitoring this.
If you think about strategy, right, they're taking their inputs from above and they're translating that into an operating plan, at the operating level. So what we found is when opportunities emerge out of strategy, the cross-functional collaboration is there.
If you could give one piece of advice to a retail or wholesale leader who's overwhelmed by their current tech stack, what's the first step they should take tomorrow to regain control, Jeff?
Inform a strategy to choose already integrated solutions.
Leaning in to make sure that those silos don't happen. And the more you lean in with your team, the less silo the least amount of silos you're going to build. It's going to be one unified solution.
At this time, I'd like to thank Bill, Jeff, and David for joining us today. And thanks to all of you for attending.